Folks, Democrats may have just handed President Trump and Republicans one of the biggest political gifts of this entire midterm election.
I also think, that it is going to be hard for a Democratic Socialist to win in Florida simply because you have the Cuban community, the Colombian community, the Venezuelan community,
Nicaraguan community.
The Nicaraguan community, thank you, who don't like those words, who see this
Why
movement.
wouldn't they like it? Are you suggesting that socialism might not have a great reputation among some people?
I'm suggesting that it's certainly like my family, they fled from Cuba, communism.
And so now down in Florida, they got a situation going on where the DSA candidate, Angie Nixon, was able to defeat the establishment Democrat, Alex Vidman, even though she was drastically outraised. 975,000 she was able to raise compared to 16 million in his war chest. And so, yeah, the numbers were obviously skewed, and somehow she still was able to pull it off. And that's about where all the good news ends for her and really begins for the Republican Party down in Florida, because it was already a stretch, ladies and gentlemen, for a Democrat to be able to even have a shot in a state like Florida that only has spent more and more time becoming more red because of the job done in Florida, where people are favoring the Republican Party more in that state. You could look at the numbers as far as how many registered Republicans versus Democrats there are. We'll get into that momentarily. But now this is a gift to the Republican Party because you have a clear distinction between a far left radical socialist candidate and the incumbent Republican Ashley Moody, who is Trump endorsed and basically a juggernaut at this point. And she's already on the attack.
And on one side, you will have a candidate that stood up for the state in the face of government crackdown, big government, called out Washington, held them to account, has pressed for accountability when they overreached their power and lied to the American people, always stood for independent and American rights. And you're going to have one side that I'm going to be up against that wants to, and the platform says, defund the police, don't fund our military, open up the border, non-citizen voting. I could go on and on.
Yeah, so this is why I say Democrats pretty much gave Republicans exactly what they were looking for. Angie Nixon, well, she doesn't really have a shot at winning. Let's get that straight first. But to entertain this whole story, she's going against Ashley Moody, who was already well known in Florida, already has a really good reputation, was already in the Senate, Trump endorsed. And take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Moody in the primary against other Republicans still received more votes just by herself than Angie Nixon and Alex Vidman combined.
National rent freeze and moratorium on evictions, universal jobs programs, taxing the rich, going after the oligarchy, and of course, abolishing ICE.
She also was labeled anti-Semitic for a resolution that she introduced in the Florida House to immediately de-escalate Israel, and she accused Israel of genocide in Gaza. She said she can't wait to see Trump arrested, and she would vote to remove him from office. She took that bullhorn into the Florida House floor, shouting against redistricting.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let's not forget about that. This is who Democrats just elected. Remember, take a look at this, doing with the redistricting battle. This is who they elected. Just take a look.
I will not allow you to destroy our democracy. That is a violation of the Constitution. It is. It's a violation of the Constitution. I'm out of order, but y'all are doing illegal things to the state of Florida. It is out of order. It is.
Yeah, that's the candidate that won the primary for the Democrat Party in the state of Florida.
Some of these issues, I'm going to ask you where you stand on defunding the police, abolishing prisons, and opening up the border again. Do you support any of those propositions?
So what I support is making sure that we have law and order in this country. And that starts with making sure there's a full release of the Epstein files and that we hold people accountable. It also is making sure that we have accountability for ICE officials who have murdered and slaughtered people in our streets on camera.
Yeah, and so the same old bag of tricks where it's either don't answer the question, deflect, which is what she chose to do, or what we see out these DSA candidates once they get past the primaries and into these general elections, then they start to change their song and dance and say, well, I thought like that before, but now I'm evolving. That is no longer my position. Now, she's choosing just to deflect at this point, but make no mistake about it. Neither answer matters because they both mean the same thing. They still stand for these things. They're just not going to be upfront about it.
You have incredible background we've just talked about in the block before this, where people are getting to know you. And running statewide in Florida is no easy task, as you know. So that's why I'm asking these questions. One of the, you are a member of the Democratic Socialists. There are a lot of candidates who have won in primaries who are members of the Democratic Socialists as well. You are also running, though, in a state, Florida has, as you well know, and a lot of people watching know, a large population of people who fled countries like Cuba and Venezuela, who may have a very unfavorable view of the term socialist, and they may not know you yet. So what is your message to them, and how are you going to appeal to them? Because you need to win them over too.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to continue to work hard and go and knock on every door and have conversations with people, even if they may not agree with me ideologically. I want to be clear. I just recently joined the Democratic Socialists of America, but I'm also a union organizer. I'm a mother. I am a wife. I am a community organizer, a small business owner. And I'm going to have conversations with people about what it is that they care about. Too often, elected officials don't come talk to people. That is why people have been getting so upset and pissed off.
The fact that she just joined doesn't make it better. It actually makes it worse, because as the DSA has gotten bigger, basically since Mom Donnie was elected, and they just come out the woodwork as far as you see them promoting and letting everyone know what they stand for. They're on mainstream media telling everybody about what the DSA stands for and what they look to promote. The only thing that you know, the more they talk, the more you realize that they are an anti-American organization that looks to tear down the very fabric that makes this country exactly what it is. They want to abolish the Senate. They want to get rid of capitalism, ladies and gentlemen. And so this idea that you can try and knock on some doors and tell people that, well, I'm not like them, but I did join the organization. Give me a break.
Did you join DSA? Is this about the organizing capacity and less about the issues? Because even today, like Republicans across the country, but especially the Republican Senate Campaign Committee, they are coming out hitting you as a socialist. It's not aligned with Florida values. But the answer you're giving today makes me feel like it's not about the socialists. It's about the organizing capacity. Is that accurate?
It's actually, it's actually about the issues that they care about the most, right? And DSA they didn't help me on my campaign. They didn't endorse me and anything like that. But I am in somewhat of alignment with some of their platform issues. And I want to be clear, I'm not in alignment with everything that the Democratic Party is in alignment with, especially when it comes to like the leadership. Hakeem Jeffries just stated that he's not really supportive of Medicare for all. I am. And so I believe that the Democratic Party is, however, this big, large tent, and we need to be welcoming to people who really want to put people first.
Yeah, so this is a perfect example of what we've been watching. Once the primary is over, suddenly these DSA members start trying to sound like they're no different than a Democrat. They try to make it, they're trying to blur the lines, basically. And so, yeah, she's a member of the Democrat Socialists of America, but she's not a socialist. But she doesn't align with what they stand for. But she doesn't want to be lumped in with them. And matter of fact, it's just like being a Democrat. It's apples to apples. But the organization, in her words, that she just joined, take a listen to this. The DSA itself didn't make Nixon's job any easier when it commemorated what would have been the 100th birthday of Cuban communist dictator Fidel Castro last week. Approximately 1.6 million people of Cuban origin live in Florida, many of whom fled the Castro regime or have family members who did so.
I get your criticism of foreign policy. As I said, it's not an uncommon one. But lauding Fidel Castro is a different story. You talk about what things were like before the revolution in Cuba. I'll give you a personal example. My grandfather was a revolutionary in Cuba during that time. He was affected by a previous dictator, Fulgencio Batista, having his friends disappeared in the street for speaking their minds. My grandfather found that revolution hoping to bring democracy to Cuba. And then what happened? Fidel Castro locked my grandfather up, sentenced to 20 years for doing what you're doing now on live TV, for speaking his mind, for expressing himself freely, for trying to organize politically. So I wonder, again, how you think that lands with people who suffered under that dictatorship, who now you are trying to court as voters when your organization comes out and lauds 100 years of Castro. I don't think it would land well with them, Ashik.
We're seeing many people in the United States who are seeing who are struggling under massive inequality in the United States.
And that's the problem right there, because someone who is operating with logic and not their far left ideology will understand why praising Fidel Castro would be so offensive and such a turnoff. Of all places, Florida, dealing with individuals who actually fled Cuba, but instead he can do nothing but look like a deer in headlights. And that's the organization that she just decided to join. I mean, what was the sales pitch that got her to buy into this? It didn't have to be that strong, if you ask me.
Do I believe in abolishing prisons? No, but I believe in getting rid of for-profit prisons, because I understand that they love to not educate our children and funnel them into the school-to-prison pipeline. I lost 2 of my cousins to gun violence, one of which fell prey to the school-to-prison pipeline. At the end of the day, these corporations just want cheap labor. Like, they are the ones that we should be upset and scared of, not members of the DSA or the Working Families Party.
Where's the family at is all I want to know. She wants to blame the school. She wants to blame the prison pipeline, but mentions nothing about blaming the family, the people in charge of taking care of that individual, making sure they grow up with the right values and principles. That way they don't go out there and commit dumb crimes and don't become a product of the system. You know what's so remarkable? What's so amazing about this? Is you hear these type of candidates, especially specifically black Democrats, they know the system in and out. And yet each and every time you hear them talk about it, they never give accountability to the one place where it should be given the most. The family, how that person was raised, who was accountable for that individual and why they were raised like that and ended up not having the ability to keep themselves out of a situation where they end up in prison.
You have now a Democratic Party that has put up as their nominee a self-proclaimed socialist who runs a bookstore called the Resistance Cafe. I am not making this up. This is not some made-up fiction TV story. This is the election that will take place in this free state of Florida this November. That is who the Democrats are running, because that is who they are as a party. And so tonight, I am grateful for every person that put their name on the Republican ballot and put yourself forward to serve your fellow Floridians. Thank you for that. But I am also speaking to everyone watching tonight across the state of Florida. And I don't care if you are a Republican, an independent, or a Democrat. This election is so much more than voting for a person for the United States Senate. This is about voting for the future of this country. Will this country remain true to the ideals that our founding fathers promised 250 years ago? Or will this country move forward? Higher taxes, big government, government seizure of private production, government controlling everything about your life, government undermining and abolishing every institution that protects your safety and your rights. There could not be a more extreme difference in candidates than what will be on the ballot this November in the state of Florida.
It's Florida, an already red state. When you look at the demographics with the Hispanic community, many migrants who became American citizens from fleeing socialist, communist countries, and you think that you're going to knock on some doors and convince folks that you're not like the organization that literally says that they want to get rid of capitalism and that they want to make America a socialist nation? You guys let me know your thoughts down below now. What do you think is going to happen in Florida? Do you think it's going to be a basic blowout as far as all of these races? Will this be the one that really shows a clear, definitive line of where Republicans, a strong red state, stands versus these far left Democrat socialist candidates? Let me know your comments down below. I appreciate when you guys chime in. Don't forget, you enjoy the content. Smash that thumbs up. For more, subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.